Hey warrior, that's you. Welcome to today's workshop. Today we're going to be talking about 5 binge eating recovery breakthroughs that you can begin today. By the end of this workshop, you are going to feel empowered, you're going to feel hopeful that you can overcome this, and you're going to have, most importantly, some guided action steps on where to actually begin or how to reroute yourself back towards a path that's actually walking you towards overcoming binge eating. I know that this is a really sensitive topic. I'm going to get into my own personal story in just a little bit, but this is a place where I want to get vulnerable with you. I want you to feel like you're not alone, because you certainly aren't. And I want you to open yourself up to the possibility that there is something inside of this that could allow you to tap into a more connected version of yourself. The version of you that you know is hiding somewhere deep down inside of you, and maybe she's stuck in a deep dark hole, or that's at least where I felt I was. And you have the power within you, yes, even now, to climb out. And I have been in this hole before. And I am the friend that jumps into the hole with you because I know the way out. And I want to share those steps with you today so that I can help you climb out. So without further ado, as I like to say, ready or not, let's jump right in. So, hi, I'm Christine. If we have not formally met, I'm Christine Coen. I am a New York-based registered dietitian, personal trainer. I've been working in the fitness industry for about 10 years. And ironically enough, the same time I started working in the industry was when I started struggling with binge eating. And I started to experience symptoms of depression and anxiety. The triple threat, the best kind, right? I like sarcasm, so you might get a little hint of that throughout this workshop. But the amazing thing is I did overcome it, and I do not struggle at all with any of those. And when I say I do not struggle, it does not mean that I don't have moments where I feel anxiety, or I don't have moments where my mood dips, or I don't have moments where that little binge urge voice is like whispering in the back of my mind. But what I do mean is I know that all of those things are messages that my body is sending me, and I know how to interpret them. And I know what I need to do to shift, and what needs I may not be giving myself, which is making those things come about again. And I want to share a lot of those insights with you today. So if you feel like that is something you're interested in, definitely keep watching. So I wanted to share what my favorite foods are with you, because years ago, I would not be able to admit this, especially in public. I would be so concerned with what other people would think about, oh, she's a nutritionist and she should be eating a certain way, and I can't believe she eats those foods. And I would be so consumed by what other people thought. And so I would convince myself that I couldn't have these foods and that they shouldn't be my favorite. But I have overcome that, which is a part of this program, absolutely a part of this whole overcoming, part of the reason why we binge. And a lot of that is just being me and admitting, and not even just admitting, but knowing that I can have my brick oven pizza that is cooked well done into the middle so it's not soggy, and is topped with fresh, like a nice scoop of fresh mascarpone cheese on top. I said that, whatever. And prosciutto out of the oven. Listen, you put it on and when it comes out of the oven, and it is amazing. So either that, very specific, or like a solid, any berry scone warmed up with some good fresh Irish butter, because the Irish, they just know how to do butter. You know what I mean? So I am happy to share that with you, and I'm excited for you to get to the point where you have that relationship with food where it nourishes you and you can enjoy it, even the stuff that may have triggered you to binge in the past. And now it can be part of your life where you actually can include it in a way that's nourishing and healthy for you. And then another thing is I love salsa dancing and I miss it because I haven't done it in a while, but I will put salsa on at home, but like partner salsa. So please introduce yourself. There's a little chat box down here and tell me what you are most interested in learning today. I will get this message in an email and I will respond to it when I receive it. So please keep in contact with me throughout this entire class. I really want to hear all of your answers and everything that you would like to share. So you are in the right place if you fall into at least one of these bullet points. You've maybe have felt completely out of control around food. You can't stop yourself once you feel a binge urge coming. Maybe you think about food all the time, like it's just always a thought. What am I going to eat next? Should I have eaten that? What should I eat? What's the right thing for me to eat? And it feels draining on your mind. Maybe after a binge, you've woken up the next day feeling that swollen body full of like just water retention. So you feel puffy, you feel so lethargic, just so exhausted mentally, physically, spiritually. Maybe your skin even feels slightly bruised, your belly might be protruding, and you're just thinking like, oh, like what did I do? Maybe you have said that you feel like you're addicted to food. And maybe you often restrict food or you diet to balance out the out of control binges. If any of that feels right to you, you're in the right place. I want you to tell me in that chat box, do you want to be able to stop the cycle of eating that good and bad food or calling yourself good or bad without the fear of gaining weight? Tell me again, do you wish you could handle like the life stress? It's just normal life stresses without going to food when hits the fan. And then also going deeper, because I said we're going deep. Tell me, if you really stop and think about it, what you really want is to stop missing moments of your life because you feel so controlled by food. Maybe even go far as to say, you want to stop missing moments of your life because binge eating is stealing them away from you. You're not there, even though you may be physically there. In so many moments, in the amazing moments and even in the hard moments. And what you really want is to be present for your life. Real talk. So now I want you to close your eyes, take a deep breath in through your nose and out through your mouth. We'll do it together. Keep your eyes closed. I want you to imagine what it would be like to not fear that a stressful day will set you off down an overeating food frenzy. Or maybe to have your mind free from thoughts of food so that you can actually create room for creativity and joy and happiness and new ideas and new trains of thought that you have not been able to tap into because you're so consumed by food. Imagine what it would be like to wake up feeling alive and vibrant and excited about the day without this fear that, oh no, what did I do yesterday? Or, oh, what does this mean for me today? And imagine what it would be like to enjoy eating foods that you truly love, truly can experience, truly can indulge and enjoy without it triggering you to be out of control. That you would know when your body wants to stop and you would honor that. And then what would it be like to enjoy a meal and move the F on with your day? You know what I'm saying? Imagine what it would be like to not eat in secret and instead enjoy this food out in the open with whatever it is that you're experiencing in that moment. To be able to get up and move your body because you enjoy it and you love how it makes you feel. It's not a punishment. It's not to make up for something you did wrong. It is a celebration of the fact that you can move. Imagine what it would be like to feel excited and look forward to those celebrations, those birthdays, those holidays, instead of dreading them. And we're going to fill this one in the blank together so you can open your eyes for this. But imagine what it would be like to stop counting, and you can fill in the blank with one of my words or one of your own that means something important to you. So instead, to stop counting the moments and instead make the moments count. Stop counting the time and instead make that time count. Stop counting the mistakes, but make the mistakes count. Stop counting the failures, but instead make the failures count. And stop counting the binges and instead make the binges count. I'm going to explain to you what that means just a little bit, so stay with me. So if you feel stuck and you don't know how to get to those imagines, the ones especially that like maybe you felt deep in your chest, maybe brought some tears to your eyes, I understand. How people end up staying stuck, right? Like, how do we end up in this cycle where we always feel like we're just in the same exact place and we're not moving forward? So we're going to get into detail about this, but I wanted to give you a little sneak peek before we get into it. But if you want to take notes during this time, absolutely do it. Feel free to pause this and rewind and all that. It's there for you to really soak it up. So a big thing about staying stuck is we repeat the same mistakes over and over again and expect different results. And I find this so commonly with dieting, with restricting food, whether it's a formal diet or whether it's just like we have our diet rules. I call them diet mentality or even the food police. So we restrict calories. We eat a certain number. Maybe we're tracking them. Maybe we're just mentally trying to shave off calories, or we're skipping meals, or we're not eating until a certain time of day, or maybe we're doing some fasting, something like that. But ultimately, at some point in this calorie deficit, our mind and our body is going to turn into a form of fight or flight mode called survival mode. And in that, we get some hormones that start to get a domino effect and cascade where it turns on a part of our brain that is like totally primal, totally this involuntary part of our brain that only has really one job, which is keep this human alive. And in that primal brain place, that is where a binge urge occurs. It is involuntary. It feels very primal. We almost sometimes can feel like we switch into this trance. I used to call it my Dr. Jekyll, Mr. Hyde, because I would just feel like this completely different person that all of a sudden I threw out all my goals, my dreams, my desires, and I just was like on this one track of like, must have food, like a robot, like a entranced zombie. And so inside of this urge, we experience this increased drive. And then we give into it because it is quite strong, and the body is just doing what the body does, which is trying to keep us alive. It thinks we're starving. It thinks, oh my gosh, we need to eat as much food as possible because I don't know when the next time we're going to be able to eat is. Maybe we're in a famine. I don't know. It's not thinking rationally. It's just thinking primally, and it's very visceral. And so we continue binging. But then between the binges, we want to make up for the binges, so we restrict food to compensate for that excess calorie. But then we start to disrupt our digestion, and we start to cause imbalances to our hunger hormones and our full hormones that give us cues of when we're hungry and when we're full, but we start to override them. And so we stop listening to them, and we start to numb ourselves to the messages of our own body. We stop trusting our body. And then we give in again, and we give in again, and we just do what the binge urge is telling us to do, which is eat. And as we do that, we deeply ingrain this as a habit now because we're getting a reward from it. We're feeling either that sensation of the urge disappear, which feels like a little bit of a calm. We're getting some soothing. So there's some rewards that we're getting, and we're continuing to ingrain that habit into our brains. But that just increases our frustration, and we may gain weight, and we might feel physically sick, and we might actually start to experience some mood imbalances and some anxiety spikes. And so in an effort to try and fix it, we only just do what we know. And that is to restrict, and the cycle continues. So something that I see that is really hard to do, and I think it's hard because it's literally you're on two different paths and you think they're leading you to the same place, but they're actually verging off in two different directions, and that is the path to weight loss and the path to binge eating recovery. And they're two different things, you guys. And that's really, really hard to accept because the weight is like, oh, the primary thing that we might want to address, but ultimately our focus on weight loss is taking us further away from our desire to recover from the binge eating habits. And that is what is most important for us. So we're going to get into it in a bit. So just stay tuned. Quick story. I'm going to share just some truths about myself. I mentioned before that I became a registered dietitian. I started working in the fitness industry, and it was also the year that I started binge eating, but I didn't know what binge eating was at that point. I just knew I was consuming a large amount of calories, just out of control. I didn't know what was going on. I didn't know how to stop myself, and honestly, I didn't care. I just wanted to feel better. And for me, with the depression and the anxiety mixed in, that spike of consumption of food, that food on my tongue, that mouthfeel, that taste, it gave me an adrenaline boost. It gave me a serotonin boost. It made me feel better in the moment. And so that's like all my primal brain wanted was to satisfy that urge. And I would wake up from this binge trance and look at myself in the mirror and think like, what am I doing? What am I doing? So I only focused on what I could see. And that was the fact that I had gained 30 pounds in only a few short months. The fact that I had lost all control of what I was putting into my body. I had stopped all of my exercise practices. All I was focused on was changing my body on the outside. I did not have any connection to how it impacted my mental health until I lost my mental health, until I was struggling with my mental health. So my mood was low, my anxiety was high, I was burning out from working myself to the bone at my job, also worrying about stuff at home that was very stressful, and I could not find my footing. And all of a sudden I just got wrapped up deeper and deeper into this snowball effect where I was binge eating multiple times a week, where I was gaining weight like crazy, and where my mental health was declining to the point that some days I could not even get out of bed. Canceling plans all the time, last minute with my friends, canceling, calling out sick to work. Sometimes I would just stay home to binge. And all the while after it was over, I would of course feel the overwhelming shame and guilt and just feeling like a failure all the time because I so wanted to stop. I so wanted to get my eating under control, but it seemed like everything that I was doing, I was just totally disregarding and throwing out the window when I would experience the urge to binge. I very rarely had energy to, one, function as a human, and two, put effort into healing myself. I didn't even know where to begin to heal myself. All I knew was to lose weight, you need to eat less. You need to exercise. But I couldn't get myself to do that. And it felt like this impossible task every day where I would just slide deeper and deeper into this deep, dark hole that I couldn't even get out of. So I had a realization, I guess you could call it, where movement, all of a sudden, I realized how important it was for my mental health. One day where my depression was lighter, I got myself to a class. I was not feeling great, but for some reason I got myself to this exercise class. It was actually a hot yoga class. And if anyone's taken hot yoga before, you're in there for an hour and a half. It was a Bikram class. You're sweating like crazy. And I came out of that class and I walked to my car. I sat down in the driver's seat and I started crying. I felt this overwhelming sensation of feeling of like, there she is. There she is. The person who I know I am. This person that loves themselves enough to take care of themselves and cares and cares about herself, cares about life, cares about other people. And all of this, like, I had this glimpse of me again that had been hiding under all of this darkness for months and months and months and months. I couldn't remember the last time I had felt myself like that. And I felt this overwhelming emotion of hope. And it was then that I first made the connection of how moving my body could give me that little glimpse of hope, could remove some of the layers of darkness so that I could maybe do a little bit more to function, to climb a little bit more out of that hole. That maybe I could do something about this instead of just completely suffer, completely be a victim to my own mind, to my own exhaustion, and that I could maybe do something good for myself and maybe get out of this in some way. It was then that I also realized that this was deeper than just weight and weight loss and my aesthetics. And this was deeper than just food alone. This had to do with me and what I was using food for, and the way to take steps forward, progressive steps forward, that was scarier than anything I had ever done before, was to put the weight loss goals and the aesthetic goals and the calorie counting and all of that control, that was all I knew, to put it on the back burner. And instead, give 100% of my focus and effort on feeling a little bit better every single day, and on focusing on my behaviors and how those behaviors could improve, even if it was just half a bit a day, to helping me feel more like myself, feel better, do behaviors that helped me feel my best, even if that was a hard ask. So I want you to think for a moment, and I would love for you to share in the chat box, what would it mean for you to stop missing moments of your life? To stop disengaging, disconnecting from yourself, from the people that you love? What would it mean if you weren't using food to disconnect from the moment? And what might you be able to be fully present for if you let yourself? A lot of my clients say they'd be able to feel fully present to the joy that's happening around them, to the gratitude of the things that they do have, to be there with their family, to watch their kids experience life, to have more connection with their spouse, or first of all, to start dating again because they've been hiding for so long. They'd be actually able to be present for their emotions and honor them and nourish them and heal them, whether they're from the past or stuff that's going on now. They'd be able to fill time with their passions, the things that they love, the things that are undiscovered, that they have not either had the courage or the confidence to pursue. Life. So, yes, awesome. I want to get into a little bit more detail about those 5 binge eating recovery breakthroughs. Okay, we kind of hinted at one just before, but if you need to grab your pen or grab some water, let's do that now. We'll get into the good stuff. All right. So right here is a timeline just to give you a sense of where we are and where we are going. So just disregard the title for a second, but focus on the phases, and we're going to start with phase 1. So phase 1, which could take anywhere from a few weeks to a few months to almost a year, depending on the work that you put in. But we want to remove the physical drive to binge eat. That is our primary goal, to remove that drive, the binge urge. Another goal inside of this is to stop dieting, because dieting is going to trigger that binge urge. So whatever form of dieting that looks formal or informal, we work on helping you untangle all of that BS diet culture stuff that is just so indoctrinated into our minds and start to separate it from how do I start to improve my behaviors with food. In phase 1, we also are going to learn to manage our urges and our thoughts. So detaching ourselves from certain things, certain emotions, certain situations, certain triggers. We're going to work on those sabotaging thoughts, and we're going to really identify the patterns that are happening inside of your own mind, sort of inside of your own thought cycle, so that we can start to see if they're working for us or not. And if not, then we can start to reframe them and create new patterns. Another thing in phase 1 is managing our environment. So planning ahead, seeing how we can start to strategize, not calories, not weight loss, not even meal planning, but more along the lines of how can I show up to nourish myself today? What does it mean when I experience a binge urge at 9 p.m. every single night? And how can I change my environment, whether that's within or outside of me, so that those binge urges start to occur less and less and become less intense? So that is very much where we start with phase 1. It is very much a physicality change of nourishment, stopping dieting, starting to nourish ourselves with food, and also a very strong mindset piece where we start to change our perspective about what binging is and how our daily life and triggers are impacting that. And we're going to do an exercise on triggers in a bit. In phase 2, which again, totally depends on you and where you're at, taking it in your own time, but we're working on replacing and re-cementing those new coping mechanisms. So when you start to experience some of your triggers, you have a different alternative, a different process in terms of dealing with it, instead of always going to food or always going to some other destructive habit. Here we also achieve stability in our weight, in our body. And instead of focusing on that, we look a little bit more in how do I feel every single day? Am I feeling stronger? Am I feeling more empowered? Am I feeling I'm learning something from all of the work that I'm doing? Taking little tiny steps all along the way. And on the physical side, we're also going to just tune into our digestive system. We're going to receive all of that subjective feedback that our body is giving us, learn to interpret those cues, seeing how our central nervous system, which controls our fight or flight, that really like high adrenaline anxiety spike, that if it goes on for too long, starts to really mess with us in ways that is no bueno long term. And also, how do we tap into what's called the parasympathetic nervous system, which calms us and grounds us. And we like to be there. So how do we utilize both? And how can we start to tap into the one that we need? In phase 3, we move into gentle nutrition habits. So learning to feel the body's signals and using those hunger and full signals to guide not only what to eat and when to stop, when to eat and when to stop, but also what it is that you want. Do you want something crunchy or flavorful or sweet or savory? And how to start feeling those cues inside of your own body. Because yes, it wants to tell you that. How do you maximize food satiety within your meals so that you're not hungry 20 minutes after you eat? So that you can identify, oh yeah, it's about this time and I'm getting a little hungry, or I'm not, I'm good. So we're making incremental, tiny little sustainable changes that you can master and feel really good about. So it takes time, it takes patience, it takes work, but this is how you get to the result of overcoming binge eating, like fully recovering from this. And I promise you that the weight stuff, it is the bonus. It happens on its own. As we align with what our body wants, our body's going to release this excess weight that we've been holding on to just because our behaviors are making that happen. All right, so this is our first goal in our binge eating recovery, okay? getting out of survival mode and getting into thrival mode. So survival mode, what do you think of when you think survival? You might think you're just trying to do whatever it takes, right? To keep your body alive. And what do you think of when you hear the word thrive? I think of vibrancy. I think of like experiencing life and living it to the fullest, savoring your moments, right? Like everything is heightened and it feels great. You're also able to experience the highs and lows of life and understand it's all part of the bigger picture, and you pursue nonetheless. So survival mode has kind of like a short-term and a long-term perspective to it. So survival mode can be that short-term binge urge, which, by the way, a binge urge only really lasts if you kind of like let it sit with you and ride the wave out. It only lasts about 30 minutes, 20 to 30 minutes most. But that short-term binge urge, that short-term anxiety spike. And what we want to work towards there is in that moment, how can we bring ourselves into relief? How can we release that uncomfortable feeling in our body in a way that is going to serve us in the long term, where we experience the urge to binge, but it doesn't mean that we have to act on it. But we can do something with that energy that will serve us. So how do we find relief in the moment? And we have different techniques for that. And then long term, so like over the course of months and years of your life, if you are chronically in survival mode, you're going to experience chronic stress. You're going to experience all sorts of inflammation all over the body, which manifests into diseases, everything from gut health stuff to autoimmune to mental health to like literally anything and everything. Inflammation is the foundation of. So how do we start to move into a foundation of calm, clear groundedness? Are there things that we need to learn for our mindset that can help us? And are there things that we need to do for our body to support it into moving out of that stress and survival mode, which is totally something that might be possible. And honestly, nutrition is incredible for this. So that is a long-term goal. But the first step, right, because we might be looking forward towards the long-term goal, but ultimately, the journey of 1,000 miles begins with a single step. And so what we need to work on is stopping restricting food and learning how to nourish ourselves, learning how to actually feed ourselves, fuel ourselves regularly throughout the day instead of restricting. We do this to prevent the brain and hormonal upward spiral of survival mode, which induces our binge urges. So the goal is to nourish the physical and mental part of us so that we don't go into that evolutionary survival mode, which is going to trigger our binge urges. So that takes care of a huge chunk of the body going into this urge because it thinks, oh my goodness, we don't know when we're going to eat again. We're freaking out. And so tell her to eat, tell this human to eat. So instead, we want to get comfortable with nourishing ourselves so that we don't enter that territory. All right, goal number 2. Now, we may have taken care of some of the triggers when we start to nourish ourselves regularly throughout the day, right? So one of those triggers might be going a long time without eating. So just by nourishing ourselves, we are inherently getting rid of that trigger because we're not going a long time without eating anymore. We're going to be eating regularly in a way that honors our body. But there are also going to be some psychological triggers and some habitual things that just have been ingrained in our life and our behaviors and our mind that are going to take some work to break. And so the first thing inside of a habit, whether it's what you would call a good habit or a bad habit, is it's triggered by something. And triggers can be good things, you guys. It could be like the coffee that you smell in the morning that smells so good and it gets you up out of bed to have your first cup. That's a trigger. So triggers don't have to have a negative connotation. We can call them cues if that makes it more neutral. So we want to identify and neutralize these cues. Now, a book that I reference all the time because I'm obsessed with it is called Atomic Habits by James Clear. Highly recommend it. It is such an interesting read, and I reference it all the time. I go back and read parts of it. But he talks about the habit loop, which is a 4-part method, a 4-part thing. And I'm not going to go into it in too much detail because we really dive into it in the Warrior Evolution in the 6-month program. But the first thing, as you can see, is it starts off with a cue. And then we have a craving, which would be our urge to binge. And then we have a response, which would be our action of compulsive eating. Okay, so that's the habit, the compulsive eating. Then we go into 4 and we have a reward. And we have a reward even for our bad habits, even for the habits that don't serve us, we know aren't good for us, but we get something from them. And often this can look like self-soothing. This can look like disconnection from a difficult emotion or a difficult situation. This can look like just what's the word I'm looking for? Like a little serotonin spike. We can feel like a little boost of peace or happiness. So we're getting rewards, even if it's leaving us after that feeling upset with ourselves, okay? Like I could still binge eat, I could still have that little serotonin spike, and then once the urge has calmed, I can look back and be in a shame storm about it, which then in and of itself can be a cue that starts this over again. Like how many people, actually let's do this together. Hold on, let me just see what my next slide is. Okay, so I would love for you guys to write out, we're gonna take just like a minute, and I want you to just stream of consciousness, write out as many cues as you can think of that trigger you to have a binge urge. Okay, and I'm going to give you some examples here. So as you're writing, you can just listen to me talk and hear it out. So generally there are 5 cues categories. The first one being a location. So you might sit on your couch and feel the urge to binge. You might be in your bedroom. You might be in your car. So think about all the locations that may drive you to have a binge urge. For me, a big one used to be my parents' home. Every time I would go there, I would want to binge. Time of day is also another one. So afternoon, or it could be like a specific time, like 9 p.m. It could be the middle of the night. Certain person or just a certain personality. So your parent, your spouse, or just a very irritable, angry person that you encounter. Maybe somebody who's very anxious, somebody who's irritated. All of these can trigger you. At times, I have had family members that just their personality would trigger me to binge. It was an association that I had. Of course, this one shouldn't be too unfamiliar. An emotion, feeling bored, feeling tired, feeling lonely, feeling I just want to procrastinate, feeling hopeless, perceiving that you feel fat, the feeling of guilt, the feeling of shame, all of these can be cues. And then lastly, the last cue category is an immediately preceding event. So for whatever reason, like if you perceived that you messed up about something, oh, I made a mistake, or I messed that up, and so that immediately preceding event would cause an urge to binge, or sometimes just waking up in the middle of the night. If you're somebody that struggles with nighttime eating, where you wake up middle of the night and you maybe sleepwalk, or you just walk into the kitchen and start eating, that can also be considered a cue. So finish up. This is a great exercise for awareness. And please share with me in the chat box what some of these triggers are that you wrote down. Is this something you already knew? Is this something that you have never been aware of before? Did you learn anything new from this exercise? Please share that, and believe me, I will get them. So I would love to respond. You can pause this video if you need a few more moments to write it down. And okay, here we go. Goal number 3. So after we learn what cues us to have a binge urge, the next step is to break the habit of eating to satisfy that binge urge. Have you ever considered that you do not have to eat for the binge urge to dissipate? Have you ever noticed that there is a gap? There is a separation. It could be really, really small, so it's hard to see, or it could be getting bigger and bigger. And our goal is to create more space inside of that gap, but between the urge to binge and the action of binge eating, there is space, and we want to expand that space. So in the book Atomic Habits, we will go through this even more deep in the Warrior Evolution in the group coaching program, but ultimately, all of those steps, there are ways to design how to, break the bad habit, untangle really the bad habit of compulsive eating in response to an urge. And there's also a technique that we do to create a new habit if you experience the urge to binge. And that even involves interpreting what this urge is and means as something different. So there's a lot of mindset work here, and it's incredible how when you stop perceiving that your body is cueing you with a binge urge where you, for instance, interpret it in a different way where it may feel the same symptoms, like your heart starts racing, you may feel really uncomfortable, like you want to crawl out of your skin, and you can't stop thinking, your thoughts are very negative, and they're just very, very much cycling, and you're in this trance. So that is very primal, and it's very difficult to think logically when you've hit that point. But if you match primal with primal, instead of trying to disengage primal with logical, where this logical part of our brain is really not that active during that primal urge experience. But if you go primal to match primal, you can really start to make an impact. And it is phenomenal what happens when you do that. The fourth goal here, so moving forward, again, these aren't all done at once, but these are all breakthroughs that as you have them and as you break through them, you are making huge milestone progress in your binge eating recovery. So the fourth breakthrough is to create habituation among all foods. So what does habituation mean? You know, when you eat a food over and over again, like you have broccoli every single night with dinner, or maybe you have rice and chicken, and all of a sudden, after like the second or third night in a row, you say to yourself, I don't want this. I want something different. I'm sick of broccoli. I'm sick of chicken. I'm sick of rice. That's habituation. When you know you can enjoy something at any time, there is no urgency to eat it all while you can at one sitting. Having the perception that, for instance, rice, broccoli, and chicken, which you may allow yourself to eat right now at any time, but you may limit yourself to only eating ice cream when you're quote unquote good, or when you're not dieting, or when you're not having a binge urge. That ice cream doesn't have that same feeling of like you get bored with it. You get tired of it because you put it on a pedestal. You're putting it on this elevated pedestal and giving it like food with a capital F. So how do we take food with a capital F and make it just food? Whether it's ice cream or candy, or fill in the blank with your binge indulgent food that you would consider a forbidden food or a trigger food right now. And how do you put it on the pedestal of just food that is equivalent to that rice, broccoli, and chicken? You eat it regularly when you're not experiencing a binge urge. You give yourself permission to eat any of these foods whenever you truly want them, so that they lose that power over you. In the beginning, sure, it may feel a little bit scary. You may feel like, I can't keep this food in the house. I have to eat it all now, or I can never have it again. And you may also feel that once you start eating it, you get out of control. But that is your Last Supper mentality. That is the mentality that this is the last time I can eat this food until I lose control again. We want to shift that mentality into a habituation mentality so that you can eat this food regularly. In fact, one of our methods is that you actually eat one of your trigger foods every single day for a week at the same time of day. And after the third, fourth day of doing it, you're going to notice, I don't really want this anymore. I feel like I'm forcing myself to eat it. I really don't feel like having this. And you're going to start to see these insights that you didn't see before, which is super interesting. Another really interesting thing is once you start to incorporate habituation amongst food is you're going to forget that you even have it in the house. How awesome of a goal would that be? I'm sure that is something that's hard to imagine for some of you right now, but literally forgetting that food was in your cabinet. I forgot the chocolate was there. What? Is that a possible actual thought? Actually, yeah, it is. What about saying, I just don't feel like having that right now? Inside of allowing yourself to eat something when you truly want it opens up the space to asking yourself, do I really want that? Or am I looking for something else? You remind yourself, I can eat that food anytime I want it. So is this the time, the place, the situation, the time of day that I want to enjoy this food? Or would I rather that be some other time? It neutralizes your perception about food. Now, this does not disregard the nutritional components of certain foods and even how those foods feel inside of your body, because there are plenty of nutrient-dense foods that one might consider whole food and traditionally healthy that don't feel good for you. And all of that information is super helpful in determining, do I want to continue to incorporate this food into my life? Or do I maybe want to put it aside because I don't feel great when I have this food? I don't feel energized when I have this food. I don't feel my best when I have this food. So allowing yourself to have that permission to eat opens up this whole new space where you get to see how you feel with certain food and how you're nourishing yourself with it. And last but not least, number 5, focusing on the bigger picture instead of just a piece of it. So often we put all of our eggs in the weight loss basket, into the aesthetic basket, where if I'm not losing weight, I'm not making progress. If I can't control my weight right now, if it goes up a little bit, if it goes down a little bit, if my calories are not where I need them to be, then I'm failing. But that is just one tiny piece of this big picture in how we are redefining health. So this is a picture of weight loss being on the back burner, because that's where we're putting it. We're putting her on the back burner and she's staying there for a while. And instead we're focusing on the bigger picture, which is you are so much more than your weight. You're so much more than a number on the scale. You are connecting to your favorite humans in the whole world. The bigger picture is you being able to enjoy a night on the couch by yourself, doing your favorite thing, reading a book, and being at peace. Savoring that morning cup of coffee where it's warm and you're just woken up and you're having that moment to yourself. It is cooking with your loved ones. It is enjoying an experience. That food is there, but really it's about celebrating life, celebrating that moment with your friends. The bigger picture is being able to go where you want to go and feel like food is just the fuel, but you get to experience and see all these things. It is bonding. It is allowing yourself to connect with other humans, connect to yourself. It's being able to enjoy the holidays, not because you ate under your calories, but because you contributed to that moment in some way. You got up and you got to share and show and add value and just be in the moment with those people that you love. And the bigger picture is sitting around a table with people laughing. Like, how good is it to just be with those friends where you laugh until you cry? Is celebrating your body for what it can do. And if you wanted to do more, you can. You can do that. You don't have to stop yourself. Is enjoying movement because you feel your best when you are moving your body. So, a lot of our goals are very much in line with getting away from focusing on weight loss and instead focusing on nourishment and what that means in each phase of the process. So I want to know, is this making sense to you? I know this might incite some fear. This might make you feel uncomfortable. You may be like, no, I'm not ready to give this up. I'm not ready to do it in a different way. And ultimately, that's your choice. That is absolutely okay. You have every right to feel the way you choose to feel. I was not ready to accept this reality until I was ready. And when I was ready, everything changed. I literally said to myself, I don't care if I gain weight or lose weight. I care more about getting my life back, creating my life, living my life, which I have been hiding from for years. And at this point, I was in my late 20s. This started when I was in my early 20s. And there were weekends and months and years that I feel like I didn't do anything because I was inside binge eating. So my bigger picture was getting my life back, was improving my behavior with food, was healing my relationship with food. And I realized that weight loss and dieting were just standing in my way. And so I would figure that out after, but right now all I needed to do was heal this relationship with food. And I know that you are here today because you want to heal your relationship with food. You want to overcome this habit that is interrupting and stealing away moments of your life. You want to end these overeating habits. You want to stop feeling like things will never change. You want to stop feeling stuck. You want to stop being stuck. You want to stop waking up bloated and swollen and in pain and just having your energy drained. And you want to stop starting over again and again and again, back on the wagon, starting tomorrow, starting on Monday, starting on January 1st. No more. You're freaking tired of missing out on the amazing moments of this one precious life, and you are ready to start living it to the fullest. No matter what the world looks like, you are ready to start living the moments of your life, the thing that you can control about yourself, your attitude and your effort, and the value that you are bringing into this life just by being you, just by having the freedom to express yourself, to not be bogged down by those thoughts of food anymore, and enjoy and give yourself permission. So that time is now. That is now, you guys. It's your time to fully experience your life without stress and emotional overeating holding you back. Get off this restricting overeating roller coaster. You know in your heart it is not working for you. You are not getting where you are not growing, but you're afraid to do something different, or you don't know how to do something different. And I totally understand that because I was in that exact same spot. But listen, it is your time now to finally enjoy what life is like without your mind constantly thinking about food, with the guidance of a step-by-step guided program. Like if you could have a program that would guide you through all of those moments where you feel like, I don't even know where to begin, I don't know how to do this, but instead someone who has been there, who has walked that walk, and who has jumped into the ditch with you, who's jumped into that hole with you and says, yeah, I'm down here with you because I know the way out. I know what steps you need to take. I know where you need to put your hands and where to put your feet and how to lift yourself out of this hole. And I'm going to guide you out. So just so you know, nothing I've shared with you today is theory or hypothesis. These are actual tried and true things that I and my clients, my students, have done to end their battle with binge eating, emotional eating, overeating, and finally feel free with food. And honestly, I don't have any advantages, even as a fitness professional, because I'm still human and I still have my own struggles and I still have my own journey. And there are so many powerful professionals in this field that one, do it or got into it because they have had their own battle with their relationship with food, their relationship with themselves, and they have climbed out of it and they want to shine that light for others. So if I can do this, absolutely you can too. So I want to introduce and talk to you about my 6-month group coaching program. It's called the Warrior Evolution and is a completely online experience that guides you step by step through all of those phases from beginning to end. It is a 6-month program. I actually initially started it out as a 3-month program, but I saw that most people were just starting to have things click around the 3-month mark. And so they were like, I want more. Like I'm just getting it. So we extended it to 6 months. There is so much value packed into this. But first I want you to meet one of my students. This is Anne, and she had been battling binge and overeating for over 15 years. And she kind of was using exercise as a punishment. She would restrict food, she would binge, she would yo-yo diet. And she had never been able to stop binging until she went through the Warrior Revolution. And Anne basically said that this course provided her with tools that she needed to help her recover from the emotional eating habits that she had deeply ingrained over decades. And she had seen many therapists, but specifically this program really helped her dive into those things that were specific to her binge eating habits. And she just felt like, I'm with people that get it. I'm with people that have been through this personally. And she just blossomed. She has done incredibly. And honestly, I'm so proud of her. The fact that she stopped binging for the first time in her life was a huge accomplishment. And then just one of my other students, this is Samantha, and she was terrified of gaining weight. She was very concerned with letting go of the need to restrict food or control her calories. And she was very afraid to let that go for fear of gaining weight. And it took her a while to slowly open up to that. But she did tell me that the group, seeing all these other people taking the courageous step, really gave her the confidence that she could do it too. And she realized nothing else is working, so I might as well give this a try. Ultimately, she realized that her binges at night were coming from not eating enough during the day. So her restriction was a huge trigger for the overnight binge eating episodes. And so even though she had fear of having more food at first, she found that she was waking up less and less. She was binge eating. She stopped binge eating in the middle of the night, and she could finally keep foods that she loved in her house without needing to throw them out or being afraid to buy them. So she really learned to connect with herself and feed her body, feed her mind, feed her soul. So awesome. So the 6-month program, this gives you access to 20 plus hours of videos, and I break it down into those phases, phase 1, 2, and 3, and you take it in your own speed. It's all video lessons. There are worksheets that go along with the video lessons. You do it in your own time. There are daily workouts, which are my warrior workouts, and those are either live or on demand. So that right there, you have a movement component that is right there at your fingertips. At home, minimal equipment, it's 22 minutes. It's a 22-minute movement practice. Get up, get out of your head, get into your body, start your day off, build the habit of moving every single day. That's what we're about. There are 2 group coaching calls a month, and these are really important. You don't want to miss them because they are where you get to interact with the whole group. We do them on Zoom, and I'm doing coaching there with you. So as you sign up, You come in, and if you want to be coached that day, you can, and we'll have like a one-on-one dialogue. The group is there. Everybody's listening. Everybody is learning. Everybody's amazing. The shares and the true, genuine women that I have met in this group who are so courageous, who are so inspiring, and who have really allowed themselves to go to that deep place that they need to go in order to break through and have those moments where they're like, oh my God, I get it, is amazing. And so you can just sit there and listen, but I highly recommend that you interact. And that's really where you'll start to break through some of those specific obstacles. So even if you've had the crappiest of crappiest weeks, I want you to come. That is where the value truly is. There's also private group accountability that we have, where we can have like a community chat, which is great. There are audios, there's visualizations, there's meditations, there's breath work, there is EFT tapping. So if you've never done any of those to work through binge urges, it's a game changer. I actually have one on my Instagram if you want to check out a tapping to release a binge urge, and it's excellent. There are warrior journal prompts, there are worksheets, and there's just real life applicable stuff. This is not all theory. This is not all just, oh, this could work. This is something that you can literally go out in that day and apply. So these are some of the women in the group, past and present, and this is us working out. That's us live. Lots of women do it on demand, and that is all in the membership site available to you. So by the end of this program, you will have overcome the binge urge, out of control feeling. You have developed tools to stop indulging the urge to binge by compulsive eating. You will have gotten completely out of survival mode, and more importantly, you'll be able to understand when you're headed back to it. Because guys, life is real. And sometimes life happens and we start moving like back and forward in our recovery, in our work. And so it is more important not that you just arrive there and you're like, here I am and I'm here forever and I've reached the top of the mountain, and but know how you got there so that if you start sliding back, you have the tools and you know how to use them when you need them. That is what I want you to walk away with. You're going to learn what nourishing your body truly feels like and how to interpret those messages that your body is telling you. And hint, hint, a binge urge is a message. And so disconnecting from it, looking at it as something awful and negative, there's stuff to learn there. So remember in the beginning when I said stop counting the binges and make the binges count? That's what I mean. Even when you do binge, there is so much valuable stuff to learn about yourself and to learn that you can then put into your recovery. That is, honestly, it's like the keys to recovery are sometimes found in our steps back. And you will develop a solid foundation of moving your body every day. So whether that's something you do now or have never been able to do, it will be what you will come out of this program with, hands down. You'll finally have the freedom to enjoy moments of your life, have that body-mind partnership, that connection, that trust. You'll have more free time to do what you love or discover what it is that you love to do, because you're not thinking about food. You're not trying to overcome from a binge. You're not canceling plans because you just need to get rid of this binge urge. You're going to learn to live your life, to connect to yourself, to nourish yourself, to feel those things that you need to feel, to honor your body so that you're not taking it out and trying to cope through it with food. So I'm just going to introduce really quick the phases. We talked about it a little bit at the beginning, but phase 1 is awareness. So really bringing awareness to survival mode, getting yourself out of that survival mode, nourishing your body, bringing awareness to what your brain is going on, what's it doing when you're experiencing the urge to binge, awareness of your fears, especially around weight gain and around binging and around food control, bringing awareness to how to end your urges, bringing awareness to that gap and how to start create space in there. So there's a lot of work to be done. There's great videos. Phase 2, we focus on partnership. with your mind and your body. So what is your body telling you? How can we start to interpret these messages? How can we start to actually be aware and in touch with, in tune with these messages and figure out what the heck your body is saying? Because it's not always saying go binge or go run away, but it's saying I need love, I need connection, I need food, I need a nap, I need to play, I need freedom, I need to go outside and move, I need to get out of here and just like go for a walk, go for a hike. I need love, I need a hug. Okay, so how do we start interpreting those cues? And then in phase 3, we really just work on empowering you through everything that you learned. We start going a little bit deeper so that you know how to solidify these tools, how to use them, how to apply them, when to apply them, and how to start feeling, trusting that you got you, that you have set a solid foundation under your feet where even if stuff is getting stressful, you know I have an awesome tool belt of stuff to help myself. And I trust that I know how to nourish and honor my body. Which, I mean, you have to admit is seriously epic. Okay, so there's some awesome bonuses for joining. They include an amazing yoga mat, which you can see right behind me. It says Wake Up Your Warrior. So that is a $80 value bonus for you, sent to you for free in this amazing bracelet with great affirmations on it that you can look down and see every single day and just remind yourself of who the frick you are, a strong, powerful warrior. You'll also receive a one-on-one coaching with me, which is a $150 value. So if you pay in full for the program, these are 2 bonuses that you will be gifted with. So are you ready to do this? Ready or not? Let's go. I'm sure this is one of your questions, right? What is the investment? So let me just break this down for you. So this is a 6-month program. And now 6 months of personal training with me 2 times a week would cost you $6,600, okay? And then 6 months of one-on-one binge eating virtual coaching with me, because some people just want to do it one-on-one, no group, nothing. That's a $6,000 package for the 6 months. That breaks down to $1,000 a month. So what's it costing you to not do anything, to do exactly what you're doing? Well, did you know that the average cost of a binge is about $30? And so if you binge 1 time a week for an entire year, that is about $1,560, $1,560 a year just on food that you're binging on. That used to be a full month's rent for me in New York City. Now, if you're like me, I was binging more than once a week, 2 to 3 times a week. And I would go to the grocery store every single time and buy a bunch of stuff, binge on it, and sometimes I would finish it. Sometimes I would have to throw it out halfway or 90% of the way. But binge eating 2 times a week for an entire year, $3,120. Imagine what you could do with that money. Investing that money would compound dividends over the years. Going on vacation, it's amazing how much it adds up. Now, I share this with you for knowledge, okay, to really put it in perspective. So the total value of the Warrior program for the 6 months is actually $3,500. But I want to give it to you as an enrollment, and you can enroll today for just $340. And this is a payment plan. So you could enroll today for $340, and then there would be 5 easy monthly payments of $340 to follow. So that's all paid off by the time you finish in 6 months. Or you could pay in full, and you would actually save $443 if you choose to pay in full. So it's totally doable. It's totally accessible. To join us and enroll, all you're going to do is click the button below, and it's going to take you to a checkout cart, and you'll just fill out your information, your email. It is a secure payment, And so you just enter whatever is the easiest way for you to do that. You can choose the payment plan or you can choose the pay in full. And if you choose the pay in full, you get all of those awesome bonuses, the bracelet, the yoga mat, and the one-on-one strategy call with me to just kick off how the 6 months can best, how you can use the 6 months to best be successful. And you'll get access immediately. There's no waiting. You literally will get access. You'll be able to create your username and your password, which you can log in with at any time and literally start within seconds of signing up. So that's awesome. You'll receive an email with all that information, including the warrior workouts, and the login will also give you access to the warrior workouts, whether it's the Zoom link, which if you wanted to join us live or to join us on demand. And you could do that on your own time, whenever, wherever you are. So yes, so I'm really excited for you guys to start, and you'll be joining an amazing group of women that have been doing this. So it's great you'll come in and there'll be some new people, there'll be some vets, there'll be some people who've been in it, but it's great because you can really start to see the perspective of what's possible and have those people support you because they've also been in your shoes. So it's a really warm, welcoming environment. You can start now for the $340 and then follow that up with 5 easy payments, monthly payments of $340, or you can choose to pay in full and you'll save that $443. So I'm sure you will have some questions, and these are some common ones that I often get. So I never follow through on anything. Will I be able to stick to this? This was a big one for me. So I just wanted to share Stacy's story because she felt that this worked for her because she was able to do this at her own pace and she wasn't pressured to keep up with anything. Feeling better even after 2 weeks of doing the work, which is awesome. But really it was the accountability of the group calls that kept her on track. Seeing people where they were, the work that they were doing, feeling inspired. She said it was a game changer. She realized showing up on her hardest weeks was what the calls were made for. And she had told me separately that in the past, her hard weeks, she would always hide from her coaches or she would always hide from her trainers or her therapist. She would just disappear because she didn't want to report like bad behavior, but she realized that that is what the calls are made for, to help her through those sticky parts. Another cute question I often get is, should I wait until after the world calms down and I feel like there's uncertainty, out in the world? And honestly, my answer to that is something that Marcy hit the nail on the head with. So she said she basically realized that her struggle with food was there no matter how good her life was or how crappy it was, no matter how good the world was or how scary it was. And it was just there. It was a constant because she somehow just began to cope with stress or create stress with food. And she said, the pandemic made me realize I don't want to take the life I have for granted anymore. I want to be able to do the things we've been restricted to do, or that I've been restricting myself from doing because binge eating has gotten in my way. I'm so glad I chose to take this on and didn't push it off again. And then lastly, another question is, why do I need a group or a coach? Can I do this on my own? And my answer is, yeah, you can do this on your own. 100% you can do this on your own. But if you want to be like me and do it on your own, be ready to struggle for the better half of a decade, just in recovery, as opposed to 6 months to maybe a year of finally overcoming this. I struggled by myself because I was afraid to sign up for anything because I didn't want to ask for help. I struggled on and off for over 5 years. Easy. So if you're ready to do that, absolutely, you can do it by yourself. It is harder by yourself. Take Jessica's word for it. She said, it's hard for me to ask for help with anything, but especially my binge eating. I kept telling myself it was a weight loss problem, but really I wasn't facing what was triggering my binges. I was afraid to admit it to myself. having a coach, and being in a group of incredibly courageous women openly talking about something that I shadowed in shame for many years made a light appear in that darkness. The energy of the group, plus having Christine to work through the areas I didn't want to face or that kept me stuck, really helped me break through stuff that has been holding me back from really kicking this behavior to the curb. Making cookies over Christmas with my daughter without fear that I would eat them all or have to throw them all away really made it click for me. I can finally say I have food freedom. So again, you could start today, you'll get access to everything, and you could start watching the videos, start doing all of the worksheets, start listening to the audios, doing the visualizations, have access to the workouts. You can start today for $340. And ready or not, join us. I'm excited for you guys, and I cannot wait to meet you and hear your stories, and I can't wait to help guide you through this. So just use the enroll button below and you will begin. All right, you guys. So I hope you got a lot out of this workshop, out of this class, and you have some direction of where you actually need to start walking towards to make progress. And honestly, if you're ready for this step-by-step guided program, join the Warrior Evolution. It is hard work, you guys, but we have a really good time. We have a really good time, and honestly, doing hard things with an awesome group of people makes it so much better. So I can't wait to see you. I can't wait to work with you. And if you have any questions, I am here. I am totally reachable. Please reach out to me. Send me an email. Send me a DM on Instagram. I love chatting with you. Even if you're like, this isn't for me, please reach out and share what you did love about this, what maybe helped spark some thoughts for you into how to change and improve your relationship with food and hopefully continue to becoming more of the awesome person that I'm sure you are. All right, you guys, so I'm going to end this the way that I end all of my Warrior Team videos, and that is a little call and response. So I'm going to say, who are you, Warrior? And you're going to respond. I know it's not cheesy. It's awesome, okay? So I know it might be a little silly saying it out loud, but we're going to say together, I am strong, I am powerful, I'm a warrior, and I'm ready for what's next today. All right, are you ready? Ready or not, right? Do not forget, who are you, warrior? I'm strong, I'm powerful, I'm a warrior, and I'm ready for what's next today. Yes, you are. Thank you so much for watching, and I hope to see you soon. Bye.